Good morning, Mr. Freeway Ricky Ross. Do we have you here? 310, you said, right, Mike? Freeway?
Hello?
Yes, sir. How are you? Just want to say
Yes,
first
I'm
and
here.
foremost, thank you for the opportunity to interview you and talk some boxing with you. We truly appreciate your time and the opportunity. I'm going to turn you over to Michael Gross, my co-host. Mike, take it away.
How's it going, Mr. Freeway? Ricky Ross, good morning to you.
Good morning to you too, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Cannot complain. My first question for you is, I was watching a interview that you did with Champside, and you said maybe 15, 20 years ago that you knew that you would take over the sport of boxing. What gave you that inclination and that idea to get into boxing?
Well, it goes back even further than that. It goes really back to the 80s. One day we were at a fight, and Don King had walked up, and he shook everybody's hand at the table. And I thought about what if I would have got up that day and told Don King that I had $3 million cash that I wanted to invest in the boxing. What would my life be had I made that decision? And while I was in prison, I was just going back over my whole life, mapping out what I was going to do when I got out and how I was going to do different things. And anywhere that I ever made a mistake, I like to go back and correct those mistakes. And one of the mistakes that I made was not getting with Don King, because at that time he was the king. So it would have been very easy for me to take over from where he was at. So I decided that day that I was going to take over boxing. And I also knew that my street image was so shadowing, so dominant, that anything that I do, street dudes is going to back me. And if you can run the streets, you can get the street people behind you, then you got anything, because without the street people, there's nobody to watch the fighters. Without the people on the streets, that nobody to buy your shoes. They don't watch your commercials. So you need the guys and the ladies that's out on the street, the everyday person. And that's who I went for.
Mr. Ross, my name is Nestor Gibbs. I want to ask, man, what's going to be the difference between you and every other rapper that decides he wants to get involved in boxing? And I know you're not a rapper, and that's just your name that was stolen by a rapper, but, we've seen the Jay-Z's, the 50 Cents. I mean, name after names.
With Jay-Z's them, you can't compare me to no Jay-Z. Jay-Z is not in my league. He's nowhere near what I am.
I mean, he's a
nowhere
mogul.
Near what I stand for.
He's a mogul with a very successful.
But he's not a self-made. He's not a self-made mogul. I'm a self-made mogul. Nobody helped me. I didn't have Universal. I didn't have Def Jam. I sued Universal and Def Jam, so I knew that I wouldn't be getting any assistance from Universal, Def Jam, Warner Brothers, none of those companies. Nobody helped me reach my goal. I made my goal on my own. I started with $125 from the streets.
But you have to admit
You
have to admit that Rock Nation Sports is a very successful management company and promotes their athletes pretty well.
That's all in the but that's all in the eye of the beholder. I don't think they're successful. I don't see any job training centers here in South Central. I was just in New York a couple weeks ago. I didn't see any job centers there. So I don't know if they're successful or not. I know that somebody is telling me to support a certain person, and these people don't show support back. So I don't know if they're successful. That's what somebody's telling me they're successful. I do not know that. So I couldn't stamp that.
Before I pass you back to Mike, I will say, he said he found an interview where you said you could take over boxing, and it's funny that you said that, because maybe 24 hours or 48 hours ago, I said that there used to be audio of a man named Al Haymon who was very successful in the music industry saying that he could take over boxing. So you guys had similar I guess, beliefs before you both entered the sport. Do you know anything of Al? And if so, can you tell us any stories? Obviously, he's one of those men, puppeteering the sport.
I've been knowing about Al since the early 80s when he was promoting concerts. I used to hear about him, but I never had the privilege of meeting him. I'd asked Floyd to introduce me to him, and I asked a couple other people, to Sam Watson, I think, to introduce me to him. I do believe that we have a lot in common, but even with Al and myself, I'm different than Al because I'm a self-made man. Nobody came and gave me no investments. I just chopped down the weed industry right now. The weed industry is about to be at my beck and call. I'm going to have more money than sin. When you talk about people having money, these guys don't really have the kind of money that I'm about to have. I'm about to have liquid cash. Right now, I got a TV network behind me, Impact Network, who wants to do 50 fights a year. I'm talking to at least 8 Olympic fighters right now. If this coronavirus clears up and they had the Olympics, I'll be at the Olympic trials. My goal this year is to come out of the Olympics with more gold medalists than anybody else on the planet.
I wanted to ask you, if I'm a boxer and I'm coming up and I'm going into the Olympics and I'm trying to make my name, why would I necessarily sign with Freeway Ricky Ross instead of signing with like a Al Haymon or a Top Rank?
Well, they don't really make their fighters famous. The only person that really brings money to the game right now is Floyd Mayweather. Why? Because Floyd promoted himself. Floyd knew how to market himself. Nobody else has that same type of draw. I can teach guys. Watch what I do with Austin Trout. Watch how far Austin Trout goes. We're going to be fighting for a title probably by the middle of next year. Austin Trout will have a belt, and I'm using technology. I'm dealing with things that nobody else knows how to do. They don't. Let me see. I guess you would say I figure out how to make something work better than what it's working. That's one of my goals. I mean, that's one of my strong points is that I'm able to take a person who performs and make their performance go up.
So Austin Trout has some pretty big ambitions, and we have him scheduled actually for tomorrow morning at 10:30. His ambition, or one of them, is to face Terrence Crawford that is with Top Rank. How are your relations with the other promoters, managers, etc.? Are they accepting you? Do you find it easy to deal with them? And has it been open arms into the boxing world?
Very, very open arm. When I go to the fights, I probably take more pictures than any fighter at the arena. The fans, they love me. Right now, my stock is high, and it's only going to grow as I continue to learn my way around the streets. I only been out 11 years, so I still have a way to go. But what I learned is a set of principles, and it don't matter what business it is. These principles just work in whatever it is.
What exactly is your partnership with the network? What is it called? Impact Network.
Well, we don't know yet. I'm going to meet with the owner probably at the end of this month. Me and Teresa Tapia, as well as Austin Trout. I'm also bringing a friend of mine from BET. But I have a very strong entertainment arm, and I could take Impact and take it to another level.
How do you promote fighting on a Christian network?
Well, we just had Austin Trout's fight, and the ratings was good.
Yeah,
so they're allowing the boxing. They're allowing the boxing to go. It went well. It was a sellout crowd, and we'll be doing Big Zoe in Tennessee on the 24th. We're getting him ready for a title shot as well. He's a heavyweight. And until they tell us that we can no longer fight on the Christian channel, then that's what we're gonna be doing. And we plan on doing next year 50 fights.
50. That's a lot of dates, man.
Yeah, we plan on doing a lot of days. That's why we're gonna be able to cut the legs, because we're gonna be messing with the guys that nobody else sees. See, you're gonna stop seeing guys get to Al. I'm gonna cut them off before they get to Al. I'm gonna be the door stopper. You know, because if these guys are not on the street, the only time they see a guy is when he's 12-0, 16-0. Well, I know now if you can catch a guy at 6-0, 8-0, then it's a good chance that he could be a world champ and definitely could make some good money.
So, what should we be calling you, Mr. Ross, Freeway? What do you like to be called, Rick?
You know, I got so many names. If you look at my indictment, I think they had about 50 names on my indictment paper. So it really don't matter what you call me, just call me.
For sure.
And I always answer my telephone, too.
So, Rick, man,
so if you call me, I'm going to answer.
Can you let us know anyone you might have hired to help you make some of these decisions? Who is your matchmaker? Who's your talent scout? Who helps you find the talent? Or are you going based off your own knowledge in boxing, and are you hands-on picking your own talent solely by yourself?
Well, with the fighters, you know, I'm looking for greatness. You know, I look for dynamics, and I know that hard work will override talent. You could be talented, but if you don't have the work ethic, then the person with the work ethic is going to win out. So I'm just looking for guys that basically where you almost have to divorce yourself from your life, you know, where you have to say, you know what, I'm going to put everything else on hold, and this is going to be where I channel all my energy. I got a couple kids that I'm working with that's coming out of Orlando this year. They fighting out of Haiti. Watch what they do to the Olympics this year. They're knocking people. Instead of winning the fight, they're knocking everybody out. These two kids, when they go into the ring, they have a contest to see who's going to knock their guy out first.
Now, I know you're your own man. You got your own plan. But when Rock came into the game, they kind of swallowed a smaller outlet. And that outlet was called Gary Shaw Promotions. They acquired all their fighters. I'm wondering, you know, I'm in the boxing world. Good business tells me if you can acquire Lou DiBella and his stable with your television deal, I see a recipe for success. He has quite a few heavyweights. He was also a HBO executive before, sports executive before he ended up doing his own promotional. And right now he's feeling the pressure of Al and Eddie, and he feels he's being pushed out. Right now he's saying things like, I don't want to turn my fighters over to Top Rank because that's what happens. If I got a fighter, I got to turn him over and lose control. So I hear a disgruntled man that needs television. Right now he only has UFC Fight Pass as an outlet for dozens of fighters that he has that doesn't get good television. Just saying, you in the New York City area, have you already talked to Lou?
I haven't spoke to Lou. I think that him and Austin may have spoke, but I'm not for sure. But you know, when I deal, the way I deal with things, I'm not a fan of name brands nor name people. I'm about the principles of work and the work ethic that you put in it. And I believe that you can start from the bottom, and if you put the work in and you study hard and do the right things, then there's nothing that can stop you.
So tell me about
I went from being illiterate to learning how to read and beating the federal government on a federal case. So I'm a believer in that no matter where you at, you can still make it to the top.
I want to ask you your relationship with Floyd Mayweather. I seen that he picked you up from the halfway house, but I also seen you say that he was just like using you for like street cred.
Well, you know, I was disappointed in Floyd, and not to the point that I'm mad at him. Not at all. We was together about 4 months ago. It was one of his meet and greets, and I was there, and you know, we greeted each other as always with love. I was disappointed because I think that Floyd could have made more money than what he made in the industry had he been more of a businessman. With me, you know, I try to rake up all the money. Not because I'm greedy, because I don't really care about money. I don't work for money. I don't love money. I love making it, and I love sharing it with other people. But I just felt that he was a little narrow-sighted in our relationship. I thought that he had recognized who I was. I made over $3 million a day when I was illiterate. I couldn't read, couldn't write, had never read a book. I just took it from the streets and watched and studied what other guys did. I watched their mistakes, what they should have done, and then I came up with a business plan. Nobody coached me. Nobody helped me. Now, I read over 300 books while I was in prison. I studied just about everybody who's running this country right now. I read their book. I read a book about them. So I have educated myself on business. Now I know what steps I made when I was in the drug business, why I was so successful. I know why I was so successful in the drug business. So all I had to do was take those same principles and apply them to all other businesses that I'm in. You know, the weed business, the clothing business, my motivational speaking, now boxing. It just works, and people can't see that, and they be afraid. You know, they're scared because they shouldn't be in the position that they're in. With me, I earned my position. You know, nobody gave me my position. Nobody has strings in my back to tell me when to go, when I can't go. I go and come when I want to. Nobody gives me money to pay my house note, my rent, and they can't cut me off. That's why I could sue a Universal. I could sue a Warner Brothers, because I didn't care if they gave me a record deal. I didn't care if they put me on TV.
I do want to ask you about your. You get something in this? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, what is the plan for the first quarter with Impact Network in terms of fights? You said you got 50 fight dates, so you obviously, you know, have to have.
Not this year. This year.
Okay.
This year we're only going to do 12 this year. You know, we got a fight in coming up in March in Kentucky. Austin's getting ready for another fight. And Teresa Tapia is getting ready for another fight in end of the mountain. So we got like 3 fights lined up. I don't know the dates. I don't keep dates. I don't keep times. I go and come whenever I get ready. So I don't keep any of that stuff in my head. What I do is, when it's time for me to perform, I go and I perform.
Can you?
No.
Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm my bad.
No. I was going to change gears totally, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on boxing. Mike is more of our pop culture. He's Mike on sports in general. I'm strictly boxing. So I know a lot.
That's cool.
Good at tennis too. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, you know what I'm saying? You had a scholarship and everything, huh?
Yeah, I'm real good at tennis. Coaching now. I'm a good coach. I'm a better coach than I was a player. Because I know the lessons that I learned from not making it in pro and tennis. You know, when I was coming up, I blamed not having the money and not having the coaching was the reason that I didn't make it. But now, as an adult who was a more critical thinker, I know that there was other things that I could have done that would have enabled me to make it, even with those handicaps that I had.
So my question is, you know, I've been in boxing long enough to see the Friday night fights, you know, Showbox, Boxing After Dark. What was that network Top Rank had for like a year? I can't remember, but BN Sports, all these places, but they all have different budgets. On Impact Network post-fight interviews, Alonzo Butler called out Dillian White. Austin Trout repeatedly said Terrence Crawford. My question is the network ready to invest in bringing a fight to that network like a Terrence Crawford versus Austin Trout, which would mean a lot of political tape? Terrence is a franchise fighter on ESPN. It's going to take a lot of money to get him off that network. And Dillian White is a pay-per-view star. He's a pay-per-view star in the UK, so it's going to take him a lot to come over to America and fight Alonzo Butler that is only known for being Wilder's sparring partner.
Well, why not let Austin go over to ESPN? Because he's a free agent. He can go wherever he wants to. He don't have to be tied to nobody. He's not tied to nobody. He can go and fight anybody he wants to, anytime he wants to. He don't have to call nobody and say, hey, can I take this fight? So it's not Austin the one that's going to be the hold up, because Impact Network don't have Austin on the contract. Well, they do have him on a 3-fight contract. But after that, Austin can go and fight anywhere he wants to. And I don't believe that the contract would prohibit him from going and fighting on the ESPN.
Well, my question was reversed.
Because
my question is the budget strong enough on Impact to bring some of those big names to fight Austin on Impact? Can he get a Danny Garcia on Impact? Is a Trout versus Crawford available on Impact?
I can raise the money. Today I got a deal that's pending today that's like the guy that I'm doing the deal with makes like $30 million every 2 months. So if the deal came up, I could put that deal together. I could raise the money. I have about 3 friends that's billionaires. So if I came to them with the right package, I could raise the money to put that fight together on Impact or on any other network that's out there. Eventually, I want to have my own app where I do my own fights eventually, unless an Impact gives me, a cut of the channel, which is what I'm after.
So what are your end goals with boxing? Because you seem to have a lot of ventures. 2 that I love, right? I only watch, literally. I'm the first guy you've ever met that doesn't watch any other sports, never been to a Grand Slam, Super Bowl, none of that mumbo jumbo. It's only boxing for me. And now you're in the weed business. I mean, you're like my long lost brother, because boxing and weed are the 2 things I love. But which one is your love? I'm boxing first, and I want to see it flourish and grow. So is Rick Ross coming in to help that? And how are you going to do that?
Well, I definitely come in to help, and it's not. I don't love weed no better than I love my clothing line. I don't love it no more than I love boxing. To me, it's just a business. It's just something to do, almost like a hobby. I'm going into it for a hobby. I see a lot of ills that from the diets. I don't like the way these guys have to starve themselves for days. I know one guy, he went 2 weeks and all he ate was an apple. I mean, that's torture. How can you have an athlete performing at their best when for 2 weeks they don't even nourish themselves? So it's a lot of things that I see in the game that I don't like, and I'll be going in to change. I'll be trying to put my own rules in, and it's going to be amazing.
Now, I know you said that you don't love weed, but I do gotta think that you gotta have like some kind of passion for it, because I see you in Chicago helping out people that are in the minority community get first dibs on the legal selling of marijuana in Chicago, and you've been doing it like in California too. So just talk to me about that and what got you started into doing that.
Well, it's not the weed that I love; it's the people that I love. I believe that the people should have an opportunity to participate. This business is going to be bigger than tobacco, alcohol put together, and I believe that the people of color should have an opportunity to participate in this business. And not only did I go to Chicago, I've been to Detroit, I've been to Kansas City, I've been to Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Florida. I just left New Orleans the other day. I'm going around the country telling people why they should get involved, why they should learn the business, and why it's important for minorities, people of color, to participate in this business, because this business will give us the cash flow that we need to do the things that some of us want to do.
All right, Mr. Ross, if you got some more time, we got a few questions from the people. They knew we were going to have you on the program, so we gave them an opportunity to ask you
All right,
a
let's
question.
do it.
Perfect. We got Caesar in Vegas who says, what did you think when you first heard a rapper using your name?
I thought that he loved me.
Okay. We got the next one is from Decatur, Georgia, I believe.
Liz Low.
Yes, Decatur, Georgia. Liz Low says, do you have your own strain coming out? If so, what are the parents to the strain? So the lineage of it.
Mm-hmm. I do have my own strains. I have a couple strains right now. But I plan on having a long list of strains, as well as a long list of growers. I'm going to partner with the best growers in California, which could be considered the best growers in the world. So I will be having the best marijuana that people have ever seen. That's my goal.
Are you and Mike Tyson gonna be doing any business? I seen you on Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. I was just asking since Mike got that
Absolutely,
ranch up there.
Absolutely, I love Mike. Mike is hilarious, man. That dude is, he's just a good dude. I love Mike, and we plan on doing a bunch of things together, including a podcast. It's just a matter of when our schedules allow us to sit down and start putting it together. But yeah, me and Mike are definitely gonna do some things together, and any other dude that's out there that they want to get down and do business the right way. I'm open to work with just about anybody.
Who you think punches harder, Mike Tyson or Deontay Wilder?
Mike Tyson.
Have you met Deontay Wilder?
You know, Mike Tyson. Not up close. Just from a distance. You know, I seen fighting, but no, I haven't met him yet. I look forward to it. If I had a time, I plan on going to his fight this time. I went to the last fight that he had. I went with Floyd Sr. But, you know, also one of my other advantages is that I'm messing with one of the best brain surgeons in the world. And one of the things that we plan on doing is he worked with Muhammad Ali right before he passed, and he has found a cure for the injuries that the boxers are getting. And we plan on bringing that to the game as well. You know, I'm just working on another level. You know, I'm not the average dude who looks up and say, "Oh, that's too high to climb." No, if I see it high, that's the one I want to climb.
All right, we got a few more here. We got 7 in California that says, "What do you think about the opioid epidemic? Shit getting out of hand." Laugh out loud.
Yeah, well, my guy is working on the opioid epidemic right now, the same brain surgeon. He's learning the mechanisms of what affects the brain with opioids. And don't be surprised if we don't come up with a cure for that as well. We about to do some major things. I mean, I got my hand. What has happened is I become somewhat of a go-to person with people with great ideas, especially people of color. What I found out is that when you're black and you have ideas, the only way you can express your idea is take it to Microsoft or Apple and sell it to them. And a lot of these guys, they don't want to sell their ideas. They want to hold on. They've learned the Master P way and the Puffy way of owning your masters, and now people want to hold on to their masters. They don't want to sell out. They want to have some ownership. And who do they look at when they think about ownership? They look at me, and I'm glad they are. So I have a couple ideas. When I was in New Orleans, a couple people came up to me with some ideas that just blew me away. You know, so now it's just a matter of us figuring out how our partnership is going to work.
I got
one question. What does $3 million a day look like, man? Like, where you put that shit at?
It looked like a kitchen table. You know, you could put it in the living room, and if somebody saw it and they didn't know it was money, they would think it was a nightstand. I mean, the little table to sit right in front of the couch at the house, and you know that's the way I used to do it. It used to drive my supplies crazy because I would stack it up in the living room right by the couches and invite them all over so they could see it. It's something about money with people. When money come around, they almost do like CNN and say, what will you do to be the president of the United States? Will you sell out your friend? Will you cheat? And about that money, man, people just get crazy. And that's why I just enjoy making it. I don't want to have that same love for it like everybody else.
We got Terrell in Detroit by way of Mexico. New Mexico says, street legend and motivational speaker. Honor to speak with you. What are your plans for the boxing world? Are you promoting fighters, joining major fighting networks, or becoming a major network yourself? Thanks for your time, legend.
Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to show these guys that they can make more money outside of the ring than they can make in the ring. If you got to fight, if you got to continue to fight just to pay your rent and to pay your bills, you're in trouble. You're just like the people that's almost sleeping outside downtown. You know, it was just one day that they wasn't able to make their house payment and they found themselves on the street. So what I want to teach these guys is that they got to do things outside of the ring that's going to enhance their in the ring, meaning that if you can become successful on the streets without boxing, in order for you to go into that ring, they got to pay you the kind of money that would entice you to go into the ring. My goal is to get Austin where he's making so much money outside the ring that they're going to have to beg him to come in the ring. And that's my goal. And when you do that with your fighters, you're not going to have any problem promoting them. Somebody was just telling me about two kids. I don't know who they are, but they're internet sensations. And they said that they drew a bigger crowd than boxers with titles. So you don't need a title if you have the fans.
You ain't lying. You talking about Logan Paul and KSI. They got 20 million subscribers on YouTube, 20 million Instagram followers. And before boxing got involved with them, they did their own YouTube pay-per-view and sold over 1.5 million pay-per-views at $10 a pop. So they've been balling.
Yeah. So if you go online and you look at some of my numbers, LA Magazine, when they wrote my obituary in 2013, they said that at that time I had over 60 million impressions on the internet. And that was, what's that, 7 years ago. So now imagine my impressions. And that was when Vlad TV was only, when first time I went on Vlad, he said he had 400,000 viewers. The last time I went on there, he told me he had 4 million. So I see how I drive the numbers. You know, my documentary was on Netflix for a year and a half. I had the #1 documentary on Netflix for 1 year and a half. I probably have the all-time record for Netflix, but they won't give me the credit. Right now, I have the #1 TV show on TV that I don't get the credit for. But that's my story. When you watch Snowfall, you're watching big pieces of my story. So I already know that the people want to hear from me. They want to know what I'm doing. They see me making moves, and they appreciate it.
Speaking of impressions and numbers don't lie. Are you going to be releasing Impact Television boxing numbers? Because, you know, that's like a thing.
They already did. They did 275 first for the trial fight, and which is like that's pretty good.
That's damn good.
I'm just trying to tell you.
That's damn good. 275 to Jamal Charlo did 270 on Showtime.
That's what I'm saying.
That's damn good. Who gave you the numbers though, man?
And I haven't even promoted Impact yet, really. Once I go to work and do the stuff that I do, me and the owner are going to be meeting, like I said, probably the end of this month. And I've been kind of holding back a little bit. I mean, I could really go to work and blow that network up. Don't let them put nothing on me. Don't let them put no show with me on there. You know, I just did a show with BET the other day coming out 420 about marijuana. My American Gangster on BET is the all-time show on BET. Nothing that BET has ever done beat out the American Gangster series. So I can bring the numbers. It's just a matter of how are they going to compensate me, because I'm tired of people taking my property, because those are my intellectual properties, even though the courts may not agree and the executives may not agree, but those are my intellectual properties that have been taken from me and used by so many different people. But at the end of the day, if Impact and I come to some type of terms, I'll definitely be doing some type of show on there, either a workout show or my street bosses, because I have about 4 or 5 shows. I have a marijuana show that I'm working on right now. But definitely, if we get the numbers get right,
Mr. Ross, but isn't
I'm gonna take
Impact
Impact
Network
to another level?
Isn't Impact a Christian network? How you gonna put marijuana on there?
You don't have to. Christians use marijuana. The preachers use marijuana. Some of them, not all of them. The politicians, they say they don't. But
I hear you.
I mean, and it's Christians that's passing. It's Christians that's passing the marijuana laws. I mean, marijuana now is just like another
alcohol
vitamin or supplement.
Yeah.
Better than alcohol. More people die from alcohol than has ever died off marijuana than will ever die off marijuana. So it's something that, at the end of the day, the owners of the network are going to have to make some decisions which way they want to go with the network and how far they're going to be committed. But, if it's not Impact Network, I'm going to go to another network. I'm going to find a home.
So I was just about to ask, it doesn't sound like the deal with Impact is set in stone yet. It seems like you're still negotiating and expecting certain things to go the way you want them before you fully commit. Because you said you haven't even promoted unless... Absolutely. Okay, so when do you...
Absolutely. Right now, the only things I've been doing for Impact, and the reason I've been doing it for Impact is because of my love for Austin Trout. Trout had invited me out when he fought Canelo. He had brought me down. I just gotten out of prison. Wasn't really ready to get my feet wet in the boxing game, but he was kind enough to bring me down to San Antonio and gave me a fee for coming down. I wasn't able to go to the fight with him because I had an engagement to speak at a college in Chicago, who was also paying me. And, once I take a deposit, I always fulfill my obligation. But from that, Trout won a spot in my heart that he'll always have as long as he respects it. And if he's fighting there and he wants me to help him, I'm going to be promoting and marketing it just from that aspect. But from a network aspect, I can do things for Impact Network that they don't even know what I can do.
All right, let me get to these questions from the people. We got Rafael Ramirez, who says, "Hey, Mr. Ross, I have a deep admiration and respect for your business mind. Moving into the boxing game, how would you begin your company? Signing talent, recruiting talent, brand development, investing in promotion? Any advice for entrepreneurs looking to do the same?"
Well, the easiest way to get in is to become a helper to the fighter. When you go in with most of these fighters, and you start talking about things like contracts, I put in time with J-Rock right before the fight that he had. I flew to Philly a few times, had conversations with him. So what I've been doing is what we call sweat equity, where you put up to show people that you can perform and that you're going to do your part. So for my best attributes, I think that's the correct word, or my best efforts have been shown working with Austin Trout. He's been the one who has showed me the most love and gave me the most opportunities. And wait till you see in a couple weeks on the 28th, we're gonna be in Dallas, Texas, at the Top Rank fight. Me and Austin will be there together, and we're gonna talk to the
Wait, at the 28th February
fight.
this month?
Yeah. in
Man,
Dallas.
we gotta meet. Man, we land
We'll
February.
beat it.
We land February. I leave on Sunday.
Well, you know one of my guys fight on that card, Saul Rodriguez. You know, I've been working with Saul
Who,
since he
Neno?
was 16 years old.
Nino,
That's my guy.
How you been working him since
That's
he
my
was?
guy.
How you been working him since he was 16? I've been following him since he was amateur. I ain't never heard of you working with him since 16. I heard of Robert Garcia. You've been definitely in the back then.
I know Robert. I know Robert. Robert, my man too. I've been to Oxnard. I saw Nino when him and Mikey sparred when he was 18 years old. He used to spar with Mikey and give Mikey all he wanted. I was there the night he got knocked out when he lost his first fight.
Do you smoke, or you just in the business because of the money?
I'm just in the business.
Okay.
I don't smoke.
I hear you.
I don't mind being around smoking though.
Nah, man. I mean, we gonna be in Dallas, man. It would be a pleasure to meet you. But let me get to these questions before all your time is gone and we leave some of these guys hanging. We got Calvin T in the UK says, "Hi, Mr. Ross." Calvin from the UK. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I understand you used to play tennis when you were younger. Would your life have been different if you received that college scholarship? And do you think you could have made it pro?
If I would have had the right principles, I could have made pro. Without knowing what it takes to become a pro, you can't make pro. You have to have the right things. And getting the scholarship, no, that wouldn't have changed my life because I still would have eventually found my way into the streets and into the cocaine business. The cocaine business taught me a lot. I was telling somebody the other day that crackheads, as we called them, taught me a whole lot about life, about business, and about the way I do things right now.
All right, we got Jordan Baker in Florida says, "Have you spoken to Rick Ross from Miami?"
No, he don't want to speak to me. If he called me today and he wanted to have a conversation, I would definitely pick up the phone. I would talk to him and see where his head was at.
But why do you think he doesn't want to speak to you if he used your name obviously out of like flattery, right? Like influence.
Well, if you go to the grocery store and you get a pair of tennis shoes, for $3, and you put them up against the Nikes, it might overshadow. One might overshadow the other one. So I think that's been the problem all along is that they thought that him endorsing me or embracing me would undermine his credibility as a rapper, as a gangster rapper.
That's crazy. Because, I mean, whoever never associated the two don't know about rap. I mean, his hit single was Hustlin', like. But anyway, Steve in Chicago says, "What is your involvement with Impact Network and what can we expect from Impact Boxing in the future?"
Well, you guys are going to get a chance to watch a world-class fighter rebuild his career on Impact Network and rise to the top. So the good thing is that you'll get to watch the journey. Also, we have a documentary that they're shooting on the network about these three fighters trying to capture titles, and I think that that's going to be interesting. When you have fighters and they fight once every year and a half, first of all, they're not sharp, they're not in fighting mode. When Muhammad Ali and them used to fight, they used to fight 4 and 5 times a year. And they was fighting 15 rounds a fight. So, we have to, one of the things that Austin said to me is that his inactivity is what caused him a few of those fights that he lost. He felt that had he been active, that he would have been a much better fighter than he was after taking off for a year and a half.
Now, let me just go back to something you said. Did you say that Austin has a 3-fight contract with Impact?
I think that's what it is, yeah. Not totally, but I believe that's what it is.
Okay, so legally speaking, there's no way that if you guys happen to be in Texas on Friday and have a good conversation with Bob, because I don't know how much you know of the boxing itself as in terms of all the drama. It's like a huge soap opera that we follow on a daily basis. But to bring you up to speed, Terrence Crawford doesn't have opponents, and the fact that Austin Trout is a named fighter, has defeated Miguel Cotto, it would be the biggest name on Terrence Crawford's resume. He's been vocal about wanting that fight, and I'm just wondering, would you advise, Austin to go straight into the Crawford fight, or would you rather see him have those other 2 fights on this 3-fight deal so that he could get some of the activity that you spoke of?
Well, I would rather for him to take 2 or 3 more fights, and tune up a little bit more. He just dropped down to the 147, so that's a new weight for him. He came in at 154. So right off the bat, we're doing something that has never been done before. So I would encourage him to take, 2 more fights at least. But Austin is strong-willed and he's going to make his own decisions. And I'm not going to tell you that he wouldn't take the Terrence Crawford fight tomorrow if Terrence stepped up and said it. Austin hasn't turned down any fights. If I would have been advising Austin when he fought those other fights, including the Canelo fight, I would have handled those differently. But, Austin hasn't shied from anybody, and he's fought everybody. So I would advise him to do 2 more tune-ups. But, being around Austin, he's pretty strong-willed, and he really wants to fight Crawford or Earl Spence.
So are you going to eventually have to have that meeting with Al? Because I know that Austin still is advised by Al. Like last time we interviewed him, which was days before his fight, he definitely said he still was Al. So if you're kind of like, will there be a forced meeting here, or you can do your thing and he can do his thing without having to meet?
Well, what I know is there's no contract. I know these guys do have a lot of loyalty for Al, which I don't understand. How could you have loyalty for a guy you never meet? That's something that Austin is going to have to answer at the end of the day. My job is to make Austin as popular as I can get him.
Let me interrupt. And I do this a lot, but it always makes the interview juicy. So wait, are you implying that Austin has told you he never met Al Haymon, or are you just speaking in general?
I'm just speaking in general. We don't really talk about Al. When you start talking about Al to those boxers, it's like you're talking about Jesus Christ. So, I try not to really mention Al's name around him, as least as possible, because I'm not afraid of Al. I'm not worried about Al blackballing me or nothing like that there. But a lot of these guys, when you start talking about Al, they get a little shaky. I notice every time one goes in the ring, I want to thank my guy, Al Haymon. Like, you never met Al. He don't take your phone calls. How do you know somebody?
Bruh, but they're going to be saying that about you. They're going to be saying that about you if you get 50 dates next year.
They're going to know me because I'm going to be going to the same places, getting my hot dog, 2 or 3 times a week. I'm going to be walking down Crenshaw Boulevard and these streets in LA. I'm going to walk down Harlem Boulevard. Like Don King.
Ross, I need you to game me here. I need you to game me because me and my co-host, we are hustlers. We work every day, 7 days a week. Why do I care if I know you as long as that check clear? Like, help me understand that. So, because I need the game. I need to be put up on game. Like, right now, like, we hustlers. So right now, somebody call us and they like, yo, we giving you what you want. Like, why do I care if I never met you as long as that check is real and I'm not going to jail for that check?
It don't really matter. I mean, that's cool if that's what you after, just that check. But if you after dominance, which as a man you should be, after the dominance, then you should want more than just that check. You should want the respect. I don't think Al do for his fighters what he could do for them. Al could make his fighters a lot more popular, where they could make a lot more money, and I just don't see him doing that. And not that he have to. I heard Al got like 6 or 7 airplanes, so what do he care if his fighters become famous, or why do we care which one win? I was talking to one of his fighters.
Hold on, because I've been doing this long enough that I've seen the Al Haymon era. So like, there wasn't popular $1 million black fighters before Al. Like Pernell wasn't making $1 million. Like we already checked that. Like before Al, the black fighters was making $1 million.
Muhammad Ali made $1 million. Muhammad Ali made
heavyweights.
$1 million in the 80s.
Heavyweights, Ross. Heavyweight. You gonna say Ali, you gonna say Tyson, you gonna say Evander, then you gonna run out of names. We talking about welterweights. We talking about bantamweights. Rashid Warren, a millionaire.
Well, what about De La Hoya? De La Hoya was the richest guy in boxing.
But he's a Latino Mexican.
During his era, the Golden Boy
He's
era.
a Latino Mexican. There's 36.6 million American Mexicans living here. Of course. He was the Golden Boy.
And it's about 36 million blacks live here.
And then Al tapped into that. Why you think Earl is a star? Deontay Wilder's a star. Gary Russell, lukewarm, at least in the boxing world. But like, these dudes wasn't getting Al put
So
Gary.
you gonna say Al did all that? You say Al did all that? Floyd Mayweather, daddy didn't train him to box the way he did?
But someone needed to open
Floyd
the
didn't have to
door.
work, and then Floyd got on the internet. Floyd got on the internet and marketed himself. Floyd is a marketing genius.
Ross, Al got Andre Berto $1 million to fight Freddie Hernandez on HBO. Believe me, he's done Gary Russell had an 8-rounder.
But he got the money from HBO though.
And that's what I'm saying.
He didn't take the money out of his pocket.
That's what I'm saying. It was the first black man to come out and represent other Latinos and African Americans and make them rich. They was B-sides until Al. Now, if you come in and do better, cool.
No. What's the name? But Bernard Hopkins was getting the money with De La Hoya.
Bruh, and Bernard was a B-side. And I'm telling you, Bernard was a B-side. Huh? Bernard was a B-side until he fought De La Hoya. That was his first $10 million payday. Remember, Bernard had to snatch the Puerto Rican flag out of Tito Trinidad's hand, throw it on the floor to get some popularity. He had to do crazy. That was crazy. He stepped on the flag.
Look what Muhammad did. Muhammad went to the microphone and took the microphone out of Joe Frazier's hand. He also told him, he said, "You guys had a fight the other day and nobody showed up. I heard you was in one of them big arenas and only 3,000 people showed up." So he made statements.
I mean, I'm just saying, I think the man has changed boxing drastically, especially for African Americans, man.
And one thing we can
he gave them shot. He put them on TV, man.
I'm not saying. Listen to this here. No, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that Al he's a great man. He did some great stuff. Did he do it the best that it could be did? I don't know. I don't think so. Could it be done better? I think it could. I look at his fighters. I mean, I ain't gonna give I'm gonna give you one marketing tip right now. He got champs. I never see him on the sideline of a football game. I never see him on the sideline of the basketball games. Those are marketing. Floyd Mayweather was at basketball championship games, and what you see in the middle of the game, they flash the camera. There's Floyd Mayweather. None of the other fighters Crawford shouldn't be at those games, shouldn't be getting that extra publicity because you're only fighting once a year. So if you fight once a year, they see you once a year, they don't recognize you. People recognize me now. You know why? Because they see me all over the internet. I'm all on TV, so they keep seeing my face, and I become somebody that they recognize. I ain't going to say much more about my marketing, but they slipping on their marketing.
All right. We got Earthquake says, who's your favorite boxer to watch in the past and currently?
Well, the past, Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali is my all-time fighter, and not just because his fighting skills, but his fighting outside the ring. You know, Muhammad Ali gave up his title because he was going to stand up. He said that I'm giving it up. So right now, my favorite fighter is Austin Trout. I don't know. I'm a funny dude. When you mine, you mine, and I stick with what's mine. So. Right now, it's me and Austin, There's a few other guys that I'm working with, but right now Austin is my main guy. He's going to be the guy that helps me get to where I turn this into a $1 billion industry, where my company will be worth $1 billion. So that's where I'm at on that.
Are you still working with Stephen Fulton?
I am still working with Steph. I think, I'm talking about, when you go to talk about their balls, sometimes they have to cut you off, not out of their own choice, but I'm trying to help Steph. I'm just waiting to see exactly what all role they want me to play. Because y'all finna see some stuff. People gonna be like, how did this Negro do that? They thought I did something in the cocaine game. Remember, I started selling cocaine. I was 19. I went to jail when I was 28 years old. So I was still a young man, had never read a book. But now, I'm an animal. I'm an animal now. I'm working on some business things right now. Let me say this here. Don't be surprised if you don't see me being traded on Wall Street in the next few months.
All right, we got a few more. They keep coming in, I'm going to be honest. So if you got to go, champ, you just go ahead and say you got to go because, time is money, I understand.
We got a few more minutes. We got a few more minutes.
All right, Mike.
I like hollering at y'all. Y'all bring up some different topics. I keep hearing the same old thing. How much money did you make selling drugs? But this here is a different topic. I'll get them on. This is a different topics, and I'm enjoying the conversation.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate that. Info Joe in California says, much respect, Freeway Rick Ross. I'm from South Central LA. I grew up not far from your stomping grounds, 120th in Vermont. Your hustle mentality is like no other. Legendary. I wish you much success on your new venture in boxing, brother. So just a message of love. There you go. We got another one coming from.
Tell him I say thank you.
No problem. Another one coming from D Straight, Mr. 704. Salute to you, Freeway Rick. Since you've been free, how has the transition from Robin Hood to legit legend been for you? And have some of the people you helped feed their families back then reach out to help you back now?
No, what happened is what I found out is most of the guys that I did my stuff with when I got out after 20 years, they wasn't around anymore. So it was a new beginning. But it has been smooth. I had some people in my corner that helped me, and everything has been okay.
Stainless in Detroit says, if TBV has their fan appreciation night in DR, are you coming? My man consistent. I love him.
Who did he say?
Well, we have a biannual or annual appreciation night, and we invite fight. Listen, man, you might meet Wilder because 2017 he was at ours in Las Vegas. So the point is, he was asking, "Are you coming?" We haven't even told you, but now we told you. He likes to force me every time we're interviewing fighters to ask this question when it should be like an email or something. But yes. We should be having one in the Dominican Republic sometime in May or end of June, and he is consistent with his question, Mr. Ross.
That's possible. It's according to my schedule. If my schedule allows me, I wouldn't have a problem with coming over there.
All right. Ruin 504 says, I don't have a question, just giving props to the evolution you have made over your life and time, proving that everyone deserves a second chance. Well, thanks, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and you're absolutely correct. Everybody do deserve a second chance, and some of us go out and get a second chance.
Literally 3 more. Mr. Sims says, I just ordered 21 keys to success after your Vlad interview. I don't have cable, so what other ways can I access Impact TV?
They don't regular TV, so you don't have cable. They have an app as well. It's Impact Network app, so you can get it off the app.
I just seen that the other day on social media.
On that 21 keys, don't practice them principles because you might get everything you want.
I like that.
Keem in Florida says, thanks for your time, Ross. I just want to know, what piece of advice do you give to young men of color that are still in the streets hustling but want to get out?
Well, one of the first things I tell young brothers when I talk to them is that they're geniuses. Anybody that can outmaneuver the drug dealers, competition, the police, and still make money, hey, you're a bad man. I have to take my hat off to you. But if you take that skills and you flip it like I'm doing, you'll probably have better success than I'm having.
All right. We got the last one is from, actually, two more slid in. But all right. Israel Weber says, how did the Joe Rogan experience add to your exposure? That's why I'm familiar with your story. Thanks for coming on TBV.
Well, you know, Joe Rogan blessed me, man. When I went to Joe and I did his show, I was homeless at the time. And I was hoping that Joe would have gave me a hand.
What? What?
And he
wait. You was homeless when you did the Joe Rogan episode?
I was homeless.
But like living at your mom's house, you mean? Like not living on the street?
No. My mom had... No, if you watch my documentary, remember they put my mom out of her house. About 8 months after I was out of prison, we lost my mom's house. She had a subprime loan, and we eventually lost it. So if you watch the documentary, we're packing everything up in the house, moving out of that house. So I was actually homeless. The guy that used to make $3 million a day was homeless. Matter of fact, it was a short time. We were losing the house even when I was riding in the car with Floyd. When me and Floyd was riding around in the $600,000 car and the Maybach, I was on the virtue of being homeless. I knew that homelessness was coming. So when I did Joe Rogan, I told Joe that I was doing bad. And if you listen to the podcast, it's probably on there. I have never listened to it. But anyway, Joe Rogan told me that I should do a T-shirt. So when I left that show, I was like, can you believe this dude? I tell him I'm doing bad, and he tell me to do a T-shirt. So I'm walking downtown one day, and this kid comes up to me, and his name is Rick, too. And he was like, man, I got a T-shirt idea for you. I heard you on the Joe Rogan show. And I was like, what? Somebody else talking about a T-shirt? And I was like, he's like, I'll do everything for you. I'll design it. I'll print it. I'll do everything. So I said, all right, I ain't got nothing to lose. I did the T-shirt. That T-shirt was The Real Rick Ross Is Not a Rapper. I did the T-shirt. I go back to Joe Rogan. I tell Joe I did the T-shirt. He puts the T-shirt on the air. And a couple days later, I got $18,000 in my PayPal account.
God is good.
Joe Rogan was too.
I love it, bro. I love that response.
Hey, man, hey, you gotta get done, man, one way or another.
Bro, yeah. That was gold. That was gold.
Yeah, so that was my experience. That was my experience with Joe. I would love to go back on the show now. If I get the opportunity, I would do it in a heartbeat so I could tell him how much I appreciate him. Give me that game. That T-shirt is famous. They're bootlegging that T-shirt now around the world. So the Joe Rogan experience was great. Also, hey, everybody, they can follow me too at Freeway Ricky on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Check your boy out. You can get both my books too on my website, freewayrickyross.com. Those books are life-changing as well. They're accumulation of all those 300 books that I read when I was in prison. So if you get a chance, check them out, man.
All right, man. So we got two more. I'm not even going to refresh the page. Every time I refresh, I keep saying we got two more. So Jordan Baker I usually don't give double questions, but you know what, man? This interview's been inspiring. He says TBV needs good investors. Would you invest in TBV? Nah, but you think about that. We'll
What is
talk off it.
TBV?
That's us, the boxing voice. TBV is the acronym. But nah, we'll talk about that. And the last one
Oh,
is from
well,
the United
holler at me.
Kingdom.
Holler at me.
Now, Mike will do that. He made the contact. We're gonna keep Mike on you. But the last one to let you go is from the UK, who says, Coyote, who says, is Wilder a legend now and part of the Boxing Hall of Fame?
I don't know yet. I'm not educated enough to make that call. He is making headways, though. If he can continue to win another couple years, he very well could become that.
Now, you said you didn't think he had the power of Tyson, right? That was the answer you gave?
Yeah. Well, your power comes from your legs. If I was working with Wilder, I would definitely get him somebody to start working on his leg strength, his torso, because when you can plant your feet solid on the concrete. I used to be a heavy weightlifter when I was in prison, and I did squats twice a week, and I could tell the difference when I had did squats. I play basketball as well, and I know that when you have been doing squats, you can plant yourself and you can lift a guy 2 or 3 times your weight. So it's very important to get your legs, and I think that if he improved his leg ability and his mobility, that he could become one of the most dominant fighters in that division.
Now, isn't that what makes him a freak of nature? That, law of man says you have to have, these big legs to possess power, and he's been knocking people out with toothpick legs?
People that weigh 50 pounds more than him on the average.
Yeah, but if you run into somebody like a Mike Tyson, then it would be a different story. One of the things that I have a problem with is a lot of these fighters, they can't divorce themselves from their life. The reason that I'm having the type of success that I'm having is that I was able to divorce myself from the world when I got out. I didn't care about what was going on in the world. I didn't care about who was going to the Grammys or BET Award. I stayed on my grind, and I kept grinding, and I believe that these fighters have to start using that same mentality, and if they do, you're going to see a different type of fighter.
Well, Mr. Ross, man, we want to thank you for your time. We truly appreciate it. It was a very insightful interview. We want to continue to get you back on, especially to follow your, journey with Impact Network. Obviously, we are the Boxing Voice, so we're truly interested in, what goes on with Austin, first and foremost. Like we told you, we have him scheduled for 10:30 tomorrow morning, and he's been a person that we've been friends with for a long, long time. So, I really want to see him get all 3 of these tune-ups and that Terrence Crawford opportunity, man. So, yeah, man, we would definitely love to get you back on as soon as you have some more boxing news for us. And thank you again for your time.
I appreciate you, and remember that a man always gets not what he wants, but what he deserves.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Well, thank you, brother. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Freeway, Ricky Ross. Salute to Mike, man. That was a special treat. I was not expecting to get that until Mike, made it possible.